Hey, welcome to the Pixel Pizza Podcast. We are starting off today with a track from Hitboxx called Move Your Body, Setting Sun. So enjoy that one. We'll be with you soon.
Welcome to Pixel Pizza.
Did she say pizza?
Your ultimate source for chiptunes, video game talk, and pepperoni. Delivered to you from Los Angeles and into the digital cyberspace of the 2020s.
Pizza power!
That's right, one super giant pizza.
I want a large thick crust with double cheese, ham, pepperoni. Hey, where's my pizza? Pizza time.
Welcome back to the Pixel Pizza Podcast. You just heard from our chiptune artist of the week, Hitboxx, and that track was called Setting Sun, Move Your Body. Today we are speaking for our game industry interview of the week with two developers of the dark Metroidvanias Rusted Moss and the recently announced Iron Bramble. This is HappySquared and Emlise. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Yeah,
Excited. But there's been a lot going on since Iron Bramble got announced.
Sure, I can imagine. Yeah, so happy to have you. So I was curious for each of you guys, when in your lives did you know you wanted to work in games?
I think for me it was like always sort of like a dream when I was younger, but it's always like not taken in a very serious way. As in I always thought, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool to make games? And
Mm.
I think I thought about it more when playing Halo 2, which was like one of the first games I kind of got really into. And when I was back in like school at that time, I was really interested in all the behind the scenes kinds of things and like what went on um, in the development side of stuff. But I don't think it was ever something that I thought that I'd be pursuing more seriously. It was just more like a, oh yeah, it's fun to like look into this. But I know um, when I actually like graduate from like university, I would not be able to like get a job as like a game developer.
Mm.
I think for me, it was more like I stumbled into it more like around 2017. Like late 2017, I started messing around with Game Maker for fun.
Oh,
And just then I don't know, I just thought it was a fun thing to do. So I just kept doing it.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
how did you guys meet and start working together?
So we've never actually met each other in person, I will say.
Oh, wow.
Uh, our whole team is actually like across like different time zones. Emma is in Norway, Ryuku's in Finland. My sister, who's the composer, is in London, and I'm in New York. And Hokuri, who is also like a new join member of the team, same as Ryuku, he's in Canada right now.
Mhm.
uh, but the reason for that odd arrangement, I suppose, is because we all initially met doing game jams together. So it was
Oh,
all like
cool.
online. Yeah, so I think that's like the main thing was that the game jam that we all did together was called GM48. It was a game maker specific game jam, and the community there is like pretty tight. I think like people tend to recognize the same people that participate. But another thing is that feedback in that game jam, I think has a very that game jam I think has a very good feedback culture. So I think we initially met because I think I played Emma's game, I left feedback on her game, and then she played my game and she left feedback on and then she left feedback too, and then we kind of had a conversation started from there. And same for Ryuku as well, who was also someone who did that game jam.
Oh, nice. And it just seemed like you guys had similar philosophies and then you wanted to work together more, or what was...
That's I don't think our philosophies are similar at all, right, Emma?
No, I think we disagree on a lot of stuff, but I think that's what
Yeah.
makes it fun.
Yeah. I guess it's like if we first started working together, um, more seriously, I think for like Rusted Moss. And that came about because I think even before then we kind of had like a small like indie dev show and tell kind of like group where we would just show each other what are some of the stuff that we've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
And Emma had made a physics-based like grappling hook that because she was like exploring like a Velet integration, just a way to just see how it is. And I thought it looked really cool. I was like, oh, you know what? Like you should develop this into a full game. And Emma was hesitant because she thought that I think some players would not want to take the time to like actually get good to use the hook. So she thought it was more like something to do as like a personal kind of like study thing. But because of that, that's how we actually first ended up like deciding to work together was all based around this like
Oh.
grappling hook that she made.
Emma, what went into that grappling hook game?
Yeah, it's called Verlet integration. It's like this weird physics system where you can like tie these little like knots together to create like physics simulations.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just messing with that in general. It didn't start out as a grappling hook. Originally, I started to use it to do a clothes physics, and then at some point, I just decided to see if I could turn it into like a gameplay thing.
Oh, neat. I did see, I forget which one of you had it on itch.io, but it was like an octopus tentacle type game where,
MS, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
was that using that same sort of mechanic? Because it reminded me of the grappling hook.
I think in that game it's only used as like a visual flair, but then the actual like physics is way more the standard.
Mm,
I think I just like made some like pretend physics for that game as to not make it like too unwieldy.
mm-hmm.
It's actually similar. Was Villa integration how Celeste Hail was done for Madeline, or was this that one slightly different, Emma?
No, it's a
Remember?
different system. It's a lot
Yeah,
simpler. Yeah.
yeah. Just checking. Yeah.
That's cool though. I could definitely see some Celeste influence in your work with the sort of the pixel art and the sense of atmosphere and some of the puzzly elements.
I think the funny thing is, Emma, I think Emma only really got into Celeste more after Rusted Moss, funnily enough. Because
Really?
a lot of Rusted Moss's visuals were actually really inspired by Rainworld.
Oh, I can
Um,
totally see that.
yeah.
Yeah, so this was more, I think, post Wrestle Moss, or at least like from an enjoyment standpoint. Though I also think Celeste is one of those games that, I mean, I feel like it does a lot of stuff really well in terms of level design. So even before I kind of enjoyed the game personally, I took a lot from that in terms of how I construct some of the platforming puzzles for my
Hmm.
games.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably gonna get to it later, but O'Nelly, I could definitely see a lot of Celeste in there too, with like the one screen and the way you platform.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, what would you say your collaboration style is like?
Um, I think it's very all of us kind of collaborate in a very intertwined way, and I think that's kind of what you get for like maybe like a lot of more like indie teams.
Hmm.
Um, kind of all the like even though like each of us sort of does have our own section that we kind of like focus more on. It's not unusual for us to also like touch the other aspects of the game. So it's kind of like people have their hands in everything. Yeah, I think that's just kind of what that's kind of what it's like. We all just like play each like section. We kind of like leave feedback for each other, and we kind of like work through that. For music, we got my sister to do the music. She did the music for Rusted Moss as well last time,
Hmm.
and it is very like collaborative with her too because she'll be playing through levels to give her feedback. So she will play the game as well, and she also has suggestions on how she feels like the atmosphere could be better based on like what sound effects are being used, and she's quick to
Oh.
um give like yeah be able to like give like more for like expertise in that matter. And it's and because like she doesn't yeah and this time around we're using like Fmod, which also allows her to do a lot of some of these edits that she'd like on like her end and balancing too.
That's so unique. Usually the composer isn't that involved on that side of things.
Oh, yeah, she's like really involved from like not just even the music, but she also helps out with like the writing. She'll like leave feedback on the levels, feedback on like the art. But I think it's because for that, that one I do think it's because we are kind of a small like indie team, and we all, that's how we're used to like doing work,
Yeah.
and especially because like when I first started developing games, that was my sister's first time developing games too, because it was both of us who signed up for GM48 to do a game jam,
Oh.
and at least for that for that it's like pretty normal for her to also have to like play test the game, and it's a very it's not like it's not like she's in a box somewhere and she doesn't
Hmm.
um get to like input as to like what's going on. Yeah, I think that's how it goes for all our roles.
That's cool. And yeah, I mean, I noticed in the credits, you guys weren't like credited by role. It was just a game by all of you
Yes.
guys.
Yeah, basically that's how it feels, because it isn't really like one role that I think uh that is like ours.
Mm. For each of you guys, would you say there's one aspect of game design or art or something you're most drawn to?
I don't do a lot of music or writing, but outside of that, it's pretty even, I would say. Don't, yeah, outside of that, I feel like everything is like equally fun for me, and I spend like an equal time on it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Sunny Days who does she she hates doing sound effects even though we rely on her a lot for that. That's I know what she's not drawn to, and that's the sound effects. It's easier yeah.
Yeah, sound effects are tough, sound mixing especially.
I think so too. It's kind of a thankless job because if you do it badly, people are going to notice. But if you do it really
Right.
well, like I don't think any like only very few people who like understands kind of like the craft behind it would probably compliment you on it.
Oh, 100%. Now that you mention it, just thinking back to Rain World, oh my God, the sound design in that game was pretty incredible.
Hmm. For sure.
And I don't know who on the team works on the story because I really like the storytelling in your games.
I guess I can say that I'm mainly the person that works in the story, me and Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of it, like for example, a lot of it is also done in again like collaboration with like Emma, who would like come up with to us and like ask who also does like contribute elements to it as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm the person who kind of sets like maybe like the setting and like foundation and how the stuff and then the other stuff that gets built on top of it just to like maintain consistency. I get to be involved in those discussions a lot more, but not like I'm the only one creating something for that. So I
Sure.
know for like the Great Climb in Rusted Moss, um, Froy, who's like the fairy at the end of who like kind of like features in the Great Climb, is Emma's own like character, and a lot of that is just more based on me telling her is like, oh yeah, in this setting, this is sort of like how things kind of like work, and I think Emma then creates a character kind of based around those like constraints and what has already been like done inside Rusted Moss, which is
Oh.
um more similar to how we're doing things in Iron Bramble than how it started at the beginning of Rusted Moss, where all the assets, well, not all the assets, but a lot of the assets and gameplay in Rusted Moss were done before any story was put on it. Um, and the story was kind of more like put on like after was more put on like just to give it that kind of like dressing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think after Rusted Moss we've been able to um close the gap a little where some of this stuff is also built with the intention of if this fits well in the story rather than the story as a wrapping that needs to somehow fit the gameplay completely, so it's no longer as much of like a one-way street, I feel.
Mm.
Hmm.
Not that yeah
No, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
yeah but not that like gameplay is obvious, but obviously like gameplay would always be like the most important thing, and
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, but it's still like a more collaborative thing because like both the story and the gameplay was kind of like birthed more at the same moment for Iron Bramble than it was for Rusted Moss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's cool. I tell me more about how you guys have been able to kind of improve your process of working together over time and figuring out, what worked and what didn't with Rusted Moss.
um I think, and feel free to interrupt as well for this, like Emma, if you have anything else, if you have something like to add for that. But I think for like Rusted Moss is a game that's quite unique in the Metroidvania genre, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also a game, so which makes it kind of difficult. Which made Rusted Moss's development process almost feel very jazzy and improv,
Hmm.
because when you're trying to make let's say you're making a more like classic Metroidvania, you have lots of like great Metroidvanias that you can reference that have like certain level designs that you understand why they work, the double jump, the dash, how ability gates unlock. But for Rusted Moss, a lot of like the gates are very fluid, and they're kind of like gated more based on like a player skill and creativity as well. And it's extremely like non-linear, and the movement has a lot more physics to it than in other Metroidvanias. So if a player really does get enough momentum, they'll be able to pass your platforming obstacle, and you cannot. It's very difficult to design platforming challenges in a way that a lot of like precise platformers do, like um just double jump at like 5 seconds and then hit a dash like a second later, you will always 100% get to the other side of a platforming challenge. But for Rusted Moss, a lot of it takes into account your momentum, so there's a lot of that that's very like very free and expressive about that, and we were not able to look at similar games that kind of had that same design philosophy. So I think when Rusted Moss released, we also had a lot of feelings of um oh, this is what we had a lot of like, oh, hindsight stuff of like, this is what we felt worked in Rusted Moss. This is what we felt like we would like to actually like iterate on better because we have like learned something new about this like design process. And also because a lot of Rusted Moss was made as a much smaller project in mind, like it was just Emma's like physics experiment that wasn't meant to be a game, which made it very difficult for us to um, have better quality of life things. Like the map in Rusted Moss is kind of bad. Sorry, Emma. The
No,
markers.
that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we actually like post launch had to put a lot of the markers on the maps ourselves because players couldn't place their own markers. Important things weren't like
Ah.
marked out. I think it was really hacky to even get like the lab portion working because the player had to move to the left, but that was in the system that was like room 0 or something, so it's impossible to go more to the left. So I think you had to introduce like I don't know whether you just added in a bunch of numbers and or how you ended up like fixing that. But this way, it's like for Iron Bramble, we have better systems, which means that we can also iterate a lot faster with like gameplay ideas. Yeah, I don't know, Emma, whether you do like whether there's anything else you want to add on that, on improvements for
No,
like rest.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it was. We've definitely gotten a lot better at like development tools and stuff for this new game.
You also were mentioning earlier, Emma, to me about what your thoughts were on like developing within like the Metroidvania genre too, because we were talking.
Yeah, I guess we're not like thinking of it as like, oh, we are making a Metroidvania. So like, how do we make a good Metroidvania? It's more just trying to make a good game, like generally. And
Mm.
for the sequel, like trying to like push Rest of the Most further and like emphasize what was good about that game and like trying to improve it more so than like focusing on the Metroidvania aspect.
Yeah, like there's not a checklist of like things to like fulfill on a genre basis. Yeah.
That's cool that you're able to play with it more. And I always get so conflicted as a player when I find a move or like a sense of momentum or an exploit that lets me just skip over a platforming challenge. Because on one hand, it's like, oh, I outsmarted the system. I feel this freedom. But on the other hand, I'm like, the designers put so much time and effort into these platforming challenges, and I'm not engaging with them.
I think that's a really funny comments that we get sometimes is of players skipping, doing some sequence breaking and finding themselves in another area in Rest of Moss and saying that, oh, was this intended? And the truth is that yeah, that was intended. Our game,
Oh.
we kind of want, at least like for Rest of Moss, it's like we want players to kind of break our game with the physics, but also a lot of these sequence breaks are actually are designed. I think that the only one that we've seen that was like unintentional was a bug that was causing a gun to the sniper rifle to like fire bullets through the gate, and we patched that because it was causing issues for regular players, but we did leave the bug in the in the files, so if a speedrunner wanted to make that bug happen again, they could change the settings inside the data files actually.
Hmm.
So we're pretty like happy with people like finding very like nonlinear ways to do things.
Yeah, plus I feel like usually like the skip way of doing things is like harder than the normal way, faster. So if you
Hmm.
know like the exploits, that's very difficult. You could probably also just have done it the normal way. So I feel like that balances it.
Yeah. And I guess that's
Yeah.
part of kind of the magic trick of game development, isn't it? Designing it in a way that the player thinks that they weren't supposed to do it when in fact they were.
Yeah, we also have we like, I think that there is a kind of like that magic of like wonder of like, oh my God, I did not realize, and this is like a reaction I have of people going like, oh my God, I did not realize I could actually get into this area so early
Yeah.
on. And I think something that we do to try encourage that for players that maybe are not don't go in with like a sequence breaker or speedrunner thing in mind is our achievements. Some of our achievements would be like find a way to get to the bottom of like to get to the last area in 15 minutes. And I think that helps if for players who are achievement hunters but not necessarily speedrunners to start thinking, wait a minute, how is that possible? And then they'll
Mm,
open up the map and look carefully and be like, wait a minute, if I do this in this particular way, will I actually be able to get down there? And they do it and they can. And it's really satisfying to see.
that's awesome. And then after the release of Rusted Moss, you guys released a massive content update, and it was for free. I mean, you could have charged for it, but you decided not to. It was like 7 to 8 hours. So, what went into that?
I think part of it just ended up being that like the player's move set was like the most fun once you had gotten all the upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
But since it was like a Metroidvania, by the time you had finally gotten all the upgrades and the game was kind of starting to get fun, it was over. So we kind of wanted to add like the third act of the game, where like all the stuff you found finally gets together, and you kind of get to play like the real game we wanted. And like it being so long is mostly just we had all these mechanics and ideas that we underutilized in the main game, and we could do a lot more with. So it was this chance to like use all these mechanics a lot more, and also like yeah, have the game sort of like reach the endpoint it should mechanically.
As for being free, I think it's like it didn't really occur to us to charge money for it. We were just I think it's just something that it felt like it made sense to add on to like Rust the Moss, you know, like it was a cool game design thing to explore. But yeah. And it, you know, I think it really we wanted to show off like for the people that were had completed Rust the Moss and had all the upgrades, it was kind of like to show them that look at all this to like, you know, really like push the limits of all those abilities in a way that the main game did not.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like usually in Metroidvanias, once you have all the abilities, it's kind of just like a little bit left to the end. You don't get a whole
Exactly.
big,
Yeah.
lengthy time to make the most of those abilities. So that's really cool that you guys did that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super happy with it. It was super fun to make too. Like I think the we made it in like 3 months, and those were like some of the most fun I've had with game development. We just got to
I,
like crank out all this content.
I'll say that it wasn't actually just the 7 to 8 hours. We had like so first we released like the Great Climb, but then we also added a bunch more DLC areas for the winter DLC. So I think like at this point, how much like more I think that added on like a few more hours to it since then. I think we had this really bad habit of saying that okay, we're done with updates to Rust and Moss. And then later on, Emma was like, "Oh yeah, but this is something I was experimenting with," and then it'd be like, "Okay, that's really cool. We should just like we should just make this an update," and then we do. Um, Another example of that is actually like the standalone game we made called Rusted Moss Arena, where we're like, okay, but what if Rusted Moss is a platform fighter?
Right.
So then we ended up making one in the browser and for free.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
ask
like it
about
was a
that
lot
one.
of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
what were you gonna say, Emma?
I was just gonna say that was also a lot of fun to make.
Yeah, I think a lot of it
So,
just comes up to whatever's being experimented on at the time and what we're
Hmm.
interested in at the time.
That's cool that you guys, as an indie team, have the freedom to just explore any idea that comes to you.
Yeah, because I think it doesn't, we don't really have like the same like obligations you do when you view it more as like a formal like workplace. You know, if it's like, oh yeah, we all wanted to make a game together. We met during game jams, and so we're like, okay, let's like do that. And I think there's no other like external influences, so it
Hmm.
feels very much like a yeah, we just kind of do what we want.
Nice. Getting into Iron Bramble, for people in the audience who aren't familiar with it, what are the top three things they should know?
um, the first one is that it is completely separate from Rusted Moss, so it's fine to pick up Iron Bramble without having checked out Rusted Moss. That's what we're aiming for. Like we obviously do want it to like also cater to returning players with some other like challenges, but we're hoping like the onboarding one would basically be like you don't have to play our previous game to have played Iron Bramble. Another thing is that I guess I'll talk about like similar to Rust also, it does have like some physics-based movement as kind of its main like mechanic. A lot of it is about like gaining momentum, rather than more traditional Metroidvania progression upgrades. And for the third thing, oh my gosh, Emma, what was the thing? Do you have any ideas on the third thing? I'm putting you on the spot now.
uh, that we probably weren't doing the Great Climb for IB. Was that the
Oh
third
yeah,
one?
I guess so. This one's more for players who are like who have come from like Rust and Moss, and we're just like, all right, we're probably not going to like release like any like other like major updates like the Great Climb that we did for 7 to 8 hours. I don't think we're gonna be including that in base Iron Bramble. That would probably come to like probably like updates afterwards.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
it's yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing is, I mean, you want to have the freedom to explore, but you also, as a dev team, want to have a schedule and structure
Yeah.
and time management. So, I mean, that's something interesting that you mentioned is the sort of momentum over the typical Metroidvania upgrades, and maybe in some way, like the player mastering the movement more is an upgrade unto itself over time.
Yes, that is. I think this is also I think that also kind of like fits well into like how Emma likes to design games, but it's based on like players. It's like very much um like I know like Emma's like has like griped to me a lot about how like how you don't like oh look, this upgrade, it gives you like +3 damage, like you don't like that kind of stuff typically.
I do prefer it more when the like getting good at the game is more about you yourself getting better at it instead of the character getting stronger. I find it more rewarding when it's like your own skill increasing.
Yeah, so um I think that like goes that's kind of like how you mentioned that player getting better is like the upgrade, and I think that's kind of like what a lot of like the philosophy that goes around um for like Rust and Moss and Iron Bramble have. Like it's not like you don't get stronger because it is a Metroidvania. You are still kind of getting upgrades, but they're not upgrades like you can do more damage now. That increases by like a percentage, but a lot of it
Mm,
really is just kind of like understanding the momentum, the physics, and as you do that, we give you more tools, and that it opens up like the world more. But it's not like a straight up boost of like, oh yeah, naturally you'll be fine with this because you get, it's like extra damage.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, player mastery. Yeah.
And another thing that really stuck out about Iron Bramble for me from the trailer was this sort of added layer in the visual style that you've added since Rusted Moss of there's almost this combination of low poly effects with the explosions and different things that happen in the game on top of the pixel art. And what went into adding that?
I think I started experimenting with that stuff a few years ago, and just thought it looked kind of pretty. I guess it's kind of inspired by like all PlayStation 1 RPGs, where like
Oh
they would have
yeah.
these spell effects that are just like this like very pretty like circle detail, like magicy circle that's just like spinning at a 3D angle, or just like explosions are just like very clearly like a low poly spare that just has like a texture of lighting wrapped over it. I always thought that stuff was really cute, and I figured it could like fit very well to a pixel art game. So that's why I kind of started adding that stuff to my games too, because I think it fits a lot better to the like the procedural animation of the rest of the game. The fact that like most of the game isn't hand drawn, having the explosion effects also not be hand drawn, I think makes it fit better.
Yeah, I love that PS1 look. And
Yeah.
what were some of the things, I mean, you got into this a little bit before, but what did you want to explore with the Metroidvania genre in Iron Bramble that you didn't get to with Rusted Moss?
I mean, like I said before, it's not there's nothing that like is specifically tied to Metroidvanias. I guess one thing we're messing around more with in terms of world structure is having it be a bit more dynamic, so areas maybe change and become more or less hostile as you progress through them,
Mm,
compared to the rest of most, where most areas was very static. So we're
At
having
least
fun with that.
At least that's more
Mhm.
like immersive because like the world kind of like changes as well,
Yeah,
not just from a gameplay standpoint. Like yeah, but I think it's odd to think it's like because it's like less of it doesn't feel like we're trying to explore specifically because we have a like conception of what the Metroidvania genre is like, but more like because we had done Rust and Moss, it's like we can see like what a better kind of better Rust and Moss would be like if we could, and that's kind of we're kind of like almost like using Rust and Moss more like its own like template, I guess, right?
yeah, we're taking all the stuff that worked in that game and like pushing it further and like removing all the stuff that didn't work on that game in that game. So it's almost like a
mm.
hyper rusted moss we're making now.
Hyper Rusted Moss, I like that. And another thing is that there are going to be over 20 different weapons. So how are you gonna, or what are you doing? I know you've mentioned this a bit in like the marketing and stuff, but making each of those distinct.
uh, We're still messing with it. It's to some extent like an iterative like project. Sometimes like we add guns to the game, and then it's like a couple months down the line where you're like, hey, what if this gun sort of like adds like a magnetic effect on enemy, and so other bullets gets like pulled towards it. But yeah, it's mostly messing around with a lot of the numbers and trying to come up with these quirks, as well as like trying to make them combo with different guns, or like we've added like weak points in this game. Like you can
Oh.
headshot enemies, and like only some enemies are able to be so only some guns can do headshots, and others can, which also helps distinguish them. And also having weapons that focus more on like single target damage or like AOE also like helps. So there's lots of numbers to play with to like create weapons that have a lot of unique pros and cons and are interesting to use.
And I think it is like a challenge that we decided to like pick up as well, because I think an issue that we felt for like Rusted Moss is that I think people tend to, well, in Rusted Moss there's like 6 guns, and you always have those 6 guns on you at all times. So there's
Mm.
no real need to make any of these decisions or make your own like unique loadout. And even though we had 6 guns, there were some guns that saw like a lot of players just like not use them very much. So I think we wanted to we wanted to try come up with like weapons that felt a little bit more like distinctive, and have players actually be able to like make the choice a bit more on the loadouts, and they can make these like decisions based on, certain guns might have better synergy with other ones. Other ones can fulfill like just like speaking in like a more like general sense.
Ah.
Yeah. Also, we've given certain enemies have like certain interaction with certain guns. So there's like some enemies can like reflect projectiles from certain guns, but not others, which also like I think helps add a lot of identity to both enemies and guns.
Yeah, but this early on, a lot of this stuff, as Emma said, is like very like iterative. So even like some like weapons that we're coming up with that might feel good now, I think it's all the weapons we have now basically still feel like very fluid and like not really like as like locked in until like I think we'll see there until as we get later into development.
Mm. But yeah, that's so important to have the enemies react differently, because I've played games where action games or Metroidvanias where I have a specific like go-to set of weapons I'll use, and I just use them the whole game, and I don't feel like I have to change depending on the environment.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've reached this phase of development yet, but have you gotten playtesters to try some of the different weapons in the game and experiment with that?
Our playtesting right now is like pretty early, so we haven't even gotten to like the weapons part. Right now we're still the playtest that we've been having is all focused around the tutorial, which I think is like the most
Mm.
important part because of how unique Iron Bramble's movement is. Um, so we've been trying to find people that like some friends who haven't played Rusted Moss at all, and we've just kind of been iterating so far on like honestly just like the beginning section, because we want Iron Bramble to be a game that is more approachable than Rusted Moss, because I feel like um Rusted Moss's difficulty curve can be a bit like odd at certain points. And Rusted Moss also has a very long section where you don't have like the grappling hook that I think is part like one of the more boring sections of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we want to increase the pacing of it. But by increasing the pacing of this, are we going to make it so that players aren't able to like get used to like the grappling hook? Um, because I think Iron Bramble is a lot faster paced, and when I played it, I was like, oh yeah, this feels a lot better. But then when you start to see people who haven't had like the same kind of like experience as you, and you can see, oh, they're
Sure.
struggling, you think, okay, how can I make it to like how can we make it so that these players can take time to learn this, but also like not bore players that are already kind of like on board in the movement? Because
Yeah.
I think like yeah, even like for Rusted Moss, I think there are some experienced players that are able to learn based on like the level design that we do, as they use the grappling hook to like, okay, I figured it out. I played enough like momentum sort of games, platformers. I understand it, and I feel even for those players, maybe like the Rusted Moss tutorial is a bit like prolonged, and something that it'd be nice if it just wasn't in the main game, especially because like it's a Metroidvania and those rooms become very obsolete. We actually like lock it off in a very like ham-handed way at the end, so players don't go back and accidentally do the tutorial again, which is something we saw happen during playtests.
Oh,
So we
wow.
prefer, yeah, it's just some, yeah, like they would just go back into the room, fall down into the pit where you fight with Bonnie and then have to go through the tutorial again because they don't know how to get out of that room, and they so we had to like lock it off up there, and which is kind of like not a very elegant kind of like game design, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a very difficult thing to tutorialize just with level design because the grappling hook behaves in such like a different way that it almost feels like it's not about like knowing how to like um I feel like it's not just about like learning how to do like all these like basic platforming challenges we have set in front of you, but honestly just like playing with it because it's almost like you have to learn how your body works inside this world, how the physics works, and getting that sense of like movement, knowing about like, oh, if I'm going this fast, I know I can make it to this top kind of thing. So it's kind of almost like learning another like world, sort of like how the physics work in that world. And that's a
Yeah.
very difficult thing to like tutorialize without it being just very basic because it would just be like teaching someone how to like like just move around in the real world. The best thing you can do really is just to like move around and figure it out as you go. But we need to slow it down a lot because the grappling hook has a very high learning curve. But you slow it down too much, and the players who are able to get that quickly are going to get very bored and want to already just be in the playground and just like mess around and yeah, and mess around more.
Yeah, that's such an underrated part of game development and game design is crafting a great tutorial.
Yes.
Because I'm always surprised when I look at a game's achievement list and I see the very first achievement in the game, even if it's only like beating the first screen, is like 95, 90%. So I think there's something to people just not understanding the flow of a game or it not being communicated clearly that causes them to drop off before they really get to dive into it.
Yeah, I also kind of feel that we're fighting against muscle memory that players have from other games.
Mm,
Because I think if we were making a more traditional Metroidvania, we wouldn't have to tutorialize this grappling hook or focus as much in the tutorialization as much as we are now. Because you can like tell a player, all right, the tutorial is like you can move, you can jump, and then the rooms are like not set. And if you were making a more regular Metroidvania, that would be sufficient because players are going to learn how to get comfortable with moving around the world just by moving and jumping, and they've played plenty of other games where they have move, jump, and double jump. You don't have to tutorialize that as hard, but
right,
it's like I think very few players, like the majority of players, would not have encountered a grappling hook like ours because ours is like actually like very unique in how grappling hooks work. And grappling hooks in games, from what I've seen of like how they tend to function, is that you either have a set fixed grapple point where you just press a button and your hook gets to that grapple point, and then the game just automatically kind of swings you across the gap. Like it's more about when do you press the button to get swung whenever you see that grapple point. And
mm-hmm,
then the other one I've seen is kind of like Batman's kind of hook. You just like point at something and it'll just immediately drag you to that point. But for our game, in some ways, like swinging back and forth a lot, which is how a lot of people envision how a grappling hook should work, typically means that the player hasn't understood the momentum part of the game because they think that the best way to gain momentum is to hang midair and kind of swing your body back and forth to make the grappling hook go left and right instead of
right.
you should run, jump off a platform, and then hook because you're going to have a lot of momentum from falling off a cliff that the hook can then turn into like speed.
Oh,
But
true.
and yeah, so I think what we've seen in a lot in tutorials and players that struggle the most is that when they do challenges, they hook and they stay hooked for a very long time and they slowly press the left and right button to just swing back and forth until they make it to the end because that's how I think their muscle memory works from the other games. It's like I want to see the grappling hook arc. But so there's a lot of stuff like that we're like kind of like fighting against. And it makes it very difficult in the Metroidvania where it's like, do we want to dedicate this many rooms to tutorials? Because in a Metroidvania where backtracking is part of like the fun, it feels weird to just have this like closed off room that you just never go back to because it's very clearly like tutorial coded,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being able to make something more immersive.
Yeah, and I guess that goes back to what you were saying earlier with making these more dynamic environments where things aren't the way that you found them when you go back to them.
Yes. It's like it's something else I also want to experiment with a little bit with like the NPCs you see, like the world. It's like it feels way more immersive to see that, oh, their positions have like changed more. They have different things to say based on like what you've done, and that kind of like fits really well and as well like the not leans into the how like non-linear the game is.
Mm-hmm. Emma, did you have anything to add?
No, I feel like Happy covered most of the ground for that
Okay,
question.
cool.
Yeah.
And so what goes into creating a very fun and fluid sense of momentum in a platformer?
I think if you want to go for that gameplay style, having the player physics be more like physicsy, like adding and subtracting speed instead of having it be static, definitely helps a lot. But beyond that, probably just like a lot of iteration, just having fun, trying lots of different stuff and finding what works and what doesn't.
Emma,
I
you've
think
made a lot of.
also,
Oh, sorry, go on. I didn't realize you were still talking.
no, you can go on. Yeah.
No, I was gonna ask you, like, because I know you've made like a bunch of like different platformers before. Do you tend to like change up your formula as to how you approach them for like the movement?
Yeah, it really depends on the game I'm making. If it's more like a puzzle platformer, I do tend to stick to very like static movement because it's more about like the player figuring out the specific solution and like it's more like open-ended creative movement. So yeah, it just depends on what I'm making in terms of the game.
Oh, okay.
I know
And
that
that,
we've had this. Oh, sorry.
oh, no, please go on.
I was just gonna bring up to Emma because I know we've had this conversations before about the typical things like developers add for like platformer physics. Like we had a conversation about coyote time,
Mm.
but I know that the conversation was more like, is it really necessary in a platformer? And I know that you were talking about how like it really depends on like the platformer. There probably shouldn't actually be like a set of rules that you need to follow. Really, you just kind of play it and kind of tune it from there.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's no like universal solution. It really just comes down to what experience you're trying to make and like how players are enjoying the experience of playing the game.
And it's a good segue you mentioned into the games that you guys are leading separately, the smaller projects that you've been working on. So, what are some of them and how do you inspire each other in making them?
So when I played Emma's Onelli, I think something that I think is really inspiring about Emma's work, and it's like why I guess I was like drawn to her stuff as well when we did like game jams together, is that she's very minimal. Um, when it comes to her design, there's a very like strong game design cart. Like you can tell like what like the idea behind the game is as you like play the game, and the game's focus on that is completely on like okay on a very simple mechanic, and the way that it steps up in complexity makes like perfect sense, and it's just like a really elegant. It's just very like elegant game design, and it never like overstays like its welcome. It's not about like padding levels. Yeah, it's not about that at all. It just feels like like it's just like watching like an extremely well edited movie where you think that everything unnecessary has been cut, like all the fat has
Mm.
been cut off. And also like her arts. So like I think she's able to do a lot with I mean little, but I think that's like a very like pixel artist of her.
Yeah, and I'm a very big fan of like Happy's work because it's usually like very detailed. I think we say you make very bespoke art assets.
Yeah.
Like all of the screens in the game are like so lush and have like so much going on in them, and also tend to be. It's hard to like find like a specific like structure to the games. Like you really don't know what's coming next. It's always really like creative and like different from any other games you play, which I makes them very fun to play through.
I think we have like I think when Emma said earlier like yeah we don't agree on a lot of things. It's because like Emma's always like leading towards a very minimalist kind of thing, and I feel like and then I'm leading towards more like maximalist, and I always want lots of unique assets. And I think
Hmm.
when we work together though, we both kind of like um meet in the middle, and I think it comes across with a better game than we would a better game like um in the end when it's not just yeah by mixing kind of like our kind of like viewpoints on um the approach of yeah.
Yeah, I got to play a bit of Onelli and I was like, okay, when the main hook was introduced, I was like, okay, I know what's going on here. But then I immediately had to start platforming. It's like, I don't know what's going on here. But Happy, I haven't gotten to see much of After School Afterlife. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So, After School Afterlife started off as a game jam project. It's actually probably like the project that um got me introduced to Emma because she commented on it saying that she really liked it and she would pay to buy the full game. And I thought that was so
Ah,
encouraging that I spent like 5 years working on it, and then she did buy the full game. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
oh,
this
nice.
the prophecy was fulfilled. uh, yeah, but it's a really like kind of like a piece of I guess Singaporean culture, that's where I'm from, that me and my sister were really interested in making because I don't think we see many games feature our culture at all.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot of local Singaporean culture. It has a lot of like Peranakan culture in there, which is kind of like a Chinese Malay um, a mix, and that's something that is I think like pretty unique, especially in video games where you just like never get to really see that like represented. Like when I was like a kid, kind of growing up in Singapore, there's a lot of it's not really like uncommon for like most of the culture that I was surrounded with was honestly like Western culture. You know, we'd watch like stuff from Disney Channel.
Hmm.
I that's and like or like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. And you know, the games you play are all like Western as well. I thought growing up that American high schools like kids really did get locked into lockers. Like it's just like that's just like real. Um and it gave me but and I realized that, you know, like I never got to really like play anything for like, other stuff from my childhood that was, you know, like other stuff from my childhood, like um the Hungry Ghost Month, um kind of like being freaked out at our great grandmother's like haunted how haunted house because of like the shrines there to us that were like scary as like a kid. There's a lots of like local local ghost stories as well, and we don't really get to see that featured that much in popular media. But at the same time, it's like I really like fantasy and like writing, so it's like it was kind of in a way it's like as a way to kind of like explore roots a little bit more because again, like a lot of the fantasy that funnily enough, that I would be familiar with was all very much like knights and dragons.
Hmm.
Um, Even though I don't really come from, I'm not like I don't come from like a Western culture at all, but it's just very like, you know, ubiquitous everywhere. So it's like if you like fantasy, that's the kind of stuff that you'd be reading. So that part of that was definitely what incentivized me to want to create this game in like the first place. Because I think there are some like interesting like ghost stories that I'd like to share of other like, you know, local ghost stories that I'd like to share of other people too. Um, and that's how yeah, and that's how I guess it just kind of like came about. It's a rhythmic platformer. We didn't want to make it like super difficult for like anyone to like take a look at, and you play as like a schoolgirl who where a rabbit has stolen your mock exam and gone into the afterlife, so you have to follow it into the world of the undead and
Oh.
then into the world of into the dead to get your homework back. Sorry, I was rambling a bit too long about it.
Oh, no. No, I was very interested. And I think that's so great because, I mean, for people from other places, it's a cool educational thing of learning about Singaporean culture. And as you were saying, for maybe kids growing up there or kids of from Singaporean families being able to see that in a piece of pop culture when maybe they wouldn't have in the past.
Yeah. But oh yeah, but the team for After School Afterlife was actually like Hokuri, me, and Sunny and Ryuku, and all of us are now working on like Iron Bramble. So it was kind of like
Ah.
so like that's how so it is all supposed to so all our team everyone kind of like knows each other.
Hmm. Is it hard to separate those two projects then, or?
Um, no, because I think after Rusted Moss was done, even though we had the DLC, we kind of have had our own projects to kind of work on. And for me, it's like before I picked up another large project to work with Emma, which we always thought that Iron Bramble might be a possibility, but we always called it Grappling Game 2 because we knew we didn't want to make like a sequel.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted all my other projects to kind of like be done. So it was like After School Afterlife for me was kind of like that project as well. Was like
Sure.
it's something like kind of large. I couldn't have it hanging over my head because Iron Bramble is kind of like a more full-time thing.
Yeah, it's a bigger scope. And each of you guys, what are some hobbies that you have outside of game development?
Hmm. Do you have Emma, do you have hobbies?
It's hard to say because like sometimes I draw, but then I just draw stuff that ends up in the game. Uh, so I don't know. I probably not actually. I don't really do much else.
Uh, well, what do you like to draw that doesn't end up in the game?
I don't know. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I draw like buildings, but then they end up being like concept art for the game, or get like turned into art assets. It all just feeds into game dev. Like even if
Mhm.
I decide to like mess around and make like say like music or something that ends up being feeding into like the game with like how we implement stuff in Fmod, and like understanding music stuff helps with how we implement it in the game. So that also becomes more like study for a game than, I guess, since video games are such like a multimedia tool, it's like
Right.
kind of hard for like not all everything you do artistically to like feed back into the game. Like even like at some point last year I started writing like a diary or like journal entries a couple years, and like even that ends up being used for like filler text in the game.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the game that finds like the 10 rules like creep into like every aspect of my life eventually somehow.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's something so unique to game development is because, like, if you're an author and you want to make music on the side or something like that, those things won't overlap. But if you're a game developer, any kind of media that you work on can be incorporated into it.
Mm.
It's also very time consuming. I think like whenever we're working on a game, I play way less games.
Mm.
And do you feel like that too, Emma? Like, do you feel like you play less games since doing game dev? I guess you've been doing game dev for a while, so.
I actually think I played less game before I was a game developer. I play way
Really?
more
Mm.
now.
I might play like a more variety of like games now, I guess, but I don't play it for like those long sessions that I used to have when I was younger, like the binging sessions.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't play games like a lot anymore, but I play like lots of random games on Itch.
Yeah,
But I guess
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
my one hobby is like playing visual novels on Itch. I love like
Mm.
going on Itch and finding random visual novels and downloading and reading them. It's a really good time.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. I feel like as I've gotten older, my gaming, I don't know, stamina has decreased where I can play like 2, maximum 3 hours a night before I have to stop or do something else. When I was a kid, I could game constantly.
Mhm. What hobbies did you have, Happy? Now I'm also curious.
Oh, I thought you forgot. Yeah. Oh
No, I
no.
didn't forget.
You didn't forget. Oh no. Um, I guess I actually do like to I like to read a lot, or at least like I try to have hobbies that are outside of like the computer stuff, so more like physical kind of like random craft things. But I think it's just kind of like it's less of like a dedicated hobby and just like more like whatever has like caught my interest at that time. Like
Hmm.
I remember one time for whatever reason I was like I kind of feel like curing meat right now. And then I was like, it's winter time in New York City. I'm in a New York City apartment. But what if I opened up the window and it's like winter air is there? Could I leave meat on my kitchen counter and have that be cured? The answer is yes.
Oh,
You can cure. I made sure to like put it in the fridge overnight, but that's what I mean. I just kind of like find random stuff that I don't know. I guess like it can be pretty like whimsical, whatever, just like interests me at that time, and then I kind of go like way overboard. Like there was just like meat drippings for a really long time in like the kitchen.
hmm. Well, speaking of that, I'm sure living in New York, you'll have a lot of opinions on this, Happy. Maybe you will too, Emma. But this is the Pixel Pizza podcast.
Oh,
Where's your favorite pizza place?
I know that I'm living in New York, so maybe I should have way more opinions about it. But honestly, like I feel for me, it's just like any pizza is like good pizza. I though I my friend is coming over to visit pizza and he really wants to go to see like John's. So that's one of the places that I guess that we'll be like he'll be going to that I'd probably like just like take him to. But I'm honestly like not picky about my pizza whatsoever.
Hmm. We've got a lot of good options. Emma?
I don't know. There aren't like that many options in Norway, and as far as I can tell, they're mostly interchangeable. I don't have
Mm.
a more interesting answer than that. Sometimes you go out
Ah,
eating pizza with friends, and it's like a good time.
oh,
That's
for
all I
I do.
sure.
know.
Do you guys have like curry pizza, curry and banana pizza like Sweden does?
Oh.
Surely one place in Norway has it if you go
That's something
looking
I
long enough.
That is something I did notice when I went to like Sweden. They had curry and banana pizza on the menu.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
Did you
it
try
was really
it?
interesting. Yeah, like and I liked it because like any pizza is good pizza for me.
Of course,
I'd eat
same.
anything, yeah.
So thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
of course. So where can people keep track of you guys and your work?
Um, we have like well, we have like mini bunnies on like Twitter and stuff. Wait, Emma, do you want to give do you use your Blue Sky or your Twitter actually?
I guess Emily's at Blue Sky is an account that exists. Sometimes posts are even made to it.
And to follow the other game my other games, you can use like the mini bunnies on like Twitter, or I'm just kind of like known as HappySquared as well on like Blue Sky. But as you can see, we are not very good at social media, and I had to like look all these up because I don't have them memorized by heart. And we probably should be better about this if we want people to play our games. But we kind of just like disappear into like the game dev void. We've been doing better on it for Iron Bramble though. We even like went all
Yeah.
the way and made like and are making shorts now because our friends can help us out on that.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure I found out about mini bunnies because of Blue Sky, so it's working pretty well.
Awesome. I really should be like more on top of things because of indie dev. You're supposed to have to do like basically have to do like your own marketing too.
That's true, yeah. I
Unfortunately.
hear that's the toughest part for a lot of indies.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening today, and now we are going to head off with one more track from our chiptune artist of the week, Hitboxx, and that is called High Score. So enjoy that one, and we will see you next week with a brand new Pixel Pizza.
I'm burning for your love.